Welcome to This Organized Life. If you're a mom, wife, or coffee lover seeking advice on how to reduce clutter and reclaim time, look no further than your host, Lori Palau, founder of Simply Be Organized and author of Hot Mess, a practical guide to getting organized. For a lot of people, clutter is their dirty little secret, but it doesn't have to be. Each week, we will share practical tips, chat with experts, and provide strategies on how to keep you organized. I hope that by sharing our stories, you feel a little less alone and more empowered to tackle the areas that are holding you back. So let's get started.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of This Organized Life podcast. I'm your host, Lori Palau, and I am very excited for you to be joining me today. If this is your first time to our show, welcome. Make sure to click the subscribe or follow button wherever you are, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on your favorite streaming app. And if you are not new to our show, you are in for a treat today, because as you may recall from last month, we kicked off a new season or a new series, I should say, this year, where we are going to be doing what I'm calling our partner spotlight episode. And as many of you know, part of what I do at This Organized Life and with the Simply Be Organized brand is partner with other professional organizers all across the globe. And they are all independently run professional organizing businesses, and we endorse them and support them to our community for people who are looking for organizing support in your neck of the woods. And today I'm very, very excited to be sharing with you one of my favorite, well, they're all my favorites, but one of my favorite organizers. So joining me is Kristy Potgieter, and I'm always messing up her name, so forgive me if I did. But Kristy is based in Southwest Florida, and she's our preferred professional organizer down there. And she specializes in helping people in all aspects of their home. She loves doing closets and pantries and all of the things. But in addition to her professional organizing clients, and this is going to be a really fun thing that we're going to dive into, is Kristy recently launched a new business designed specifically for professional organizers. It's a platform, it's a digital platform, and she's going to talk all about it, called Sortify. And it was really born out of a need that she saw in the professional organizing industry. And like any good entrepreneur, when they see a problem and don't have a solution, they create one. And that's what Kristy did. And so we're going to be talking all about that. During our episode, we're also going to dig into the Enneagram. Kristy is an Enneagram 1, and we've spoken offline quite a bit about how her Enneagram 1-ness shows up in her world. And we're going to talk about that today on the show. So lots of great stuff to get into. So without further ado, please help me welcome my friend Kristy to the show. Welcome, Kristy.
Thanks, Lori. Thanks for the intro. Excited to be here.
I am very excited to have you here. And I'm just switching on my computer on gallery view so we can be side by side. So this is long overdue. This is a long overdue recorded conversation, because Kristy and I have had many, many conversations without cameras and mics rolling about her business, the growth, the evolution. And there's been so much over the past few years. Why don't you just, in your own words, take our listeners through a little bit about your story? Like, kind of, what were you doing before you started this in this industry, and bring us up to speed?
Sure. So I like to say I'm in my third career, if you will. I started out as a structural engineer after college and was in that industry for maybe 6 to 7 years, and then transitioned to corporate America, working for a technology research company, where I was there in a sales and services role for about 10 years. And I kind of got to a point in my corporate career where I was just burnt out, as I'm sure many people have found themselves in that position before, and daydreaming about, what do I want to do next? Organizing was something that I looked into when I left my engineering career, But at the time, it didn't really make a whole lot of sense for me. Like financially, it didn't make sense at the time. But I looked into it, I researched it, I knew it was an industry, I knew it was something that I could do someday. And it always kind of sat in the back of my mind. So, through my corporate career, I ended up helping family and friends and organizing myself, and eventually realized, like, what do I want to do when I grow up, and what would be fun and what would make me feel like I'm more fulfilled than I'm feeling right now. And organizing just was at the forefront of my mind. So I planned it out for like 10 months before I actually left, and did all the research, did all the classes, joined NAPO. I even went to the NAPO conference before I even left my company, just to make sure that this was the right move. And yeah, I left in September of 2019. I launched my company, KLP Organizing, and haven't looked back. It's been a great ride.
Well, I'm just sitting here laughing to myself, not at you, but it's so funny. And I love hearing people's stories and how they got into this business, because everybody got into this organically, right? Most people weren't like, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to become a professional organizer, right? It's not, maybe one day that'll be the case, but most people kind of stepped into this by happenstance. But I think it's interesting when I talk to people about kind of how they made that leap or that step, that pivot. And I'm laughing because you went and you connected crossed every T, dotted every I. Like you said, you did all the research, you took classes, you went to conferences, very Enneagram 1 perfectionist, like textbook. Here's me, the Enneagram 8. You should start an organizing business. Okay. And hung up my shingle, and that was it. Yeah. And it was like, throw caution to the wind. And clearly there's no right or wrong, because we're both very successful in our own right, and it worked out. But I just think it's funny to, with regardless of what industry you're in, but specifically just looking at our industry, like there's so many different ways that you can get to where you are. And the goal is just putting yourself out there. So you started this business 2019. Mm-hmm. We're doing great. Mm-hmm. COVID hits. Mm-hmm. And like everybody, I'm sure, had to take like a long, hard look in the mirror. What am I doing? How am I going to change, pivot, evolve, ride this out? Walk us through, give us a little bit of a inside scoop to that.
Yeah. So COVID hit, right around the 6-month mark of, starting this business. And just when things were starting to get momentum, like we had all these great, exciting projects planned and scheduled. And then, everything came to a screeching halt very quickly. And, I took that time to, again, take courses, educate, continue to network within the organizing community, which has been so great. And, just continue to learn, but then also think about, okay, what is the next step? And, what parts of the organizing industry do I like? What parts of this do I really like? And what parts do I maybe not like as much? And, I started like niching down what I wanted to offer. So I wanted to focus on moves. I wanted to focus on closets. And, you and I talked a lot about this over the course of those months. And then, things started to pick back up. It was like maybe 3 or 4 months that we were like really doing nothing. And then things started picking back up. And things were going really well. But the thing that kept cropping up for me was I was spending so much time out. Like I'd go to clients' houses, I'd help them organize and purge and sort and do all the things. But then I still needed to come home and design what their final pantry or closet or cabinet is going to look like. And I could have some of that in my head, but I didn't really have an easy way to get that done at home at the office. So I basically would just sketch out things, which is my handwriting and drawing capabilities are very embarrassing. And it was taking me hours. I mean, I was spending so much time on this, and I was realizing as I was getting busier and as I was getting busier with clients, I had less and less time to spend on the design part, which was the part that I really enjoyed because I liked the finished look and I wanted to make sure that spaces were functional as well as aesthetically pleasing, because I do feel like there's a connection to long-term maintenance if those two things are in place. But I also felt that I didn't have a tool, and I looked and I tried to figure out, if there was anything out there. I was asking all my organizing friends, like, what are you using? And was shocked at the answer kind of being pencil and paper. And, some people would, use Canva or PowerPoint in a creative way, but not necessarily to scale. And so, I was finding that I wasn't the only one having this problem. It wasn't just like a newbie problem that I just didn't know something. It was truly that people that have been in the industry for a lot longer than me were also struggling with it. And so I had the thought, it kind of kept creeping up every time I had a project that involved product. And then I finally decided, well, if this isn't existing, then something needs to change. And why not try it? Never done anything like this before, but we'll give it a try.
So talk us through, for the people that are listening, and sort of at the time that we're recording this, like literally your business baby app software launched, like it just launched, Sortify.
Yes.
So congrats, we've been celebrating. And if you guys have been following us on social, or following me at least on social media, you've been seeing I've been sharing Sortify and Kristy's stuff, because we're really excited, because this is a game changer in the industry. But give people that are listening, whether they're in the industry as professional organizers or they're just somebody at home that's listening, what exactly does the tool do, and what's the purpose that it's serving in the marketplace?
Sure. So the tool is an online design tool for any organizer that is working a lot with products in a project. So if you have bins, baskets, drawer dividers, drawer containers that you're needing to bring into a project, you want to see what's going to fit, how it's going to look, how it's going to kind of be, how it's going to look in the space. This tool is to help you with that. And so it's designed in a way that my main goal was to make it easy and super intuitive, because the different design tools that are out there for architects and interior designers, and the research that I've done to test out these different tools and see if there's a workaround or a close enough fit that I could utilize in the organizing projects I was doing, you needed to do so much, training and understanding. And there was just so many options and starting from, scratch every time. And so I really wanted to make sure that if we were going to do this, it needed to be easy and intuitive and not require a whole lot of time, because we don't have the time. So the whole purpose is saving time and make it super simple right from the beginning. So it's basically simple drag and drop features from one side of the screen to your canvas, and being able to size things accordingly. So as engineers, as organizers, we are constantly measuring spaces to the exact inch or eighth of an inch or whatever, and then, as we know, products are not always, whole numbers, as would make life easier. They're to the eighth and the 16th of an inch. So we have all these different mathematical equations that we need to get our arms around. And so we're able to drag and drop the object to the canvas. You change the size to the size of your actual space, to the size of the actual containers and bins that you're going to be using. And you can move them around accordingly and just make sure that they're going to fit, and see that they're going to fit and how they're going to fit and how it's going to kind of look, which is, I think, a key part. For me, I'm a very visual person, and I can visualize a lot in my head, especially in the organizing space. I can walk into a closet and kind of see how this can look and feel better, but I still kind of need to see it and be able to play around with it and tweak things. And I would rather be doing that at my home office rather than on site at the client's home. And sometimes clients want to see what's in your head, and that's not always easy to describe. So and my drawings, as I mentioned, are embarrassing. So that's not a real professional look to bring to the client's homes. So, so it's really designed to save tons of time on the design process, and just being able to be able to go on site for install day with confidence that everything that you're bringing with you is going to fit into this space and work for what the client needs. And it's also hopefully going to save time on the back end, because we as organizers a lot of times will overbuy products because we don't know what's going to work and fit and whatever. I'll still do that to a certain degree, probably always, just because you never know if there's a couple of different options. But not needing so much product that you have a huge return or multiple returns to multiple stores at the end of the day is another huge time saver. So the goal is to just be able to go into install day with confidence. And I will say, we did the beta back in, it was probably the beginning of the summer. And, that gave us the opportunity to be able to use some, a simple tool, at least for the time being, to, use for some of my projects. And that going on site for the install day with these plans in place and being able to just slot everything in. I don't always do it exactly as planned, but at least I know with confidence that everything that I have is going to fit in some way, shape, or form. And that to me was huge, especially, still being newer to the industry and just wanting to do a good job for our clients and make sure that they're happy at the end of the day.
I'm going to say this, and this is Kristy is not paying me to say that, it is an amazing game changer tool. And I want to highlight a couple of things that you said, just to kind of go back and really just hone in on it. First of all, for people that are not in the industry, because obviously we've got two different kind of audiences listening to this show. We've got our people that are other fellow professional organizers that are like, yes, I totally know what that's like, running back and forth to the Container Store, Target, or Bed Bath & Beyond, or whatever store. And then we've got our people that are just looking for organizing inspiration and tips and strategies. So peeling back the curtain, as professional organizers, there's so much that goes into what we do when we're not on site. And I say this really again, because it's not just about show up and get it done. There's strategy, there's planning, there's research, there's all of this time off site that is spent. And I've been doing this for, well over a decade. And even though I don't see a ton of clients, if I am going to do any space, I always have to go in there with understanding what is going to be the client's goals, what do they need, what do they like, and what's going to work in that space. So even though you've been doing this, or you may have been doing this for years and years and years, there's always that level of offsite time research that needs to get spent. And I will tell you, as somebody who works a lot with professional organizers, coaching and mentoring them, one of the biggest things that I hear from people is, how can I streamline and maximize my time, right? So our mission here is about helping people to live simply and work smarter. And that goes in your business as well as in your home. And what I love about this tool is it helps our professional organizers work smarter. It's that working smarter piece, so that we're not just sitting there going, let me buy every bin or every drawer organizer and see what fits. It allows you to be strategic in saying, these are my measurements, let's play around. And so you're spending time in the comforts of your own home or your home office or whatever, working on this, but then you don't have to waste time running back and forth. And then you could be so much more effective to your clients. So I love that. And I've seen it because I had the privilege of being able to test out the beta and kind of walk with you through the evolution of this product from conception to launch. And it's been amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
No, you're welcome. I wanted people to say that. And again, for people right now, because there might be people that are going, oh my gosh, is this just for professional organizers, or can I use this as a homeowner? So I'll let you kind of speak to that kind of where you are with the process on that.
Yeah. So right now it is designed for professional organizers to use. Hopefully down the road, we will have something that would be available to all consumers, anybody who wants to DIY a project. But for right now, it is based on, being geared toward professional organizers, and the business model is set up in that way because it's a subscription service, not on a per project basis. But hopefully someday we'll be able to get there and have it available to consumers.
And for my professional organizers that are listening also out there, because I know a lot of people during the pandemic were trying to figure out how they can pivot, how they can grow, how they can diversify their service offerings. Even before the pandemic, I've always talked about, as somebody who is a professional organizer, that diversified my service offerings to reach a spectrum of clients depending on their need. What I love about Sortify, in addition to the functionality of the actual tool itself, is it allows the professional organizer to elevate their business to offer a design option exclusive if you so wanted, right? So you could say, we have a service offering where, as part of the, our on-site services, we do this custom design. But you may have some people that are like, I can't afford to spend thousands of dollars or whatnot to have somebody come in. What a professional organizer could do with this tool is say, well, I can come in here and using, your tool, design it, tell you exactly what you need to buy, and then allow the homeowner to then go in and implement it themselves. So it could be adding another service offering to your menu or suite of services that you offer clients. So I love it because, like you said, the business model is designed for people in the professional world, not direct to consumer. But how can this actually help make you money, right? You're investing in this product that's going to save you time, but it can also help bring revenue. And that's what I love about it. Because that was one of the first things I said, is I was like, oh my gosh, this can open up so many doors for people in the professional organizing space to create a visual footprint for somebody to see.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And I mean, virtual organizing has kind of been a thing for a while, but COVID definitely increased the virtual organizing space in a big way, because, even if you were local to somebody who needed help because of restrictions or whatnot, you still might have had to get creative and do some more things virtually than you would have done otherwise. And so, yeah, from a virtual organizing perspective, this can totally be helpful. And then also, to your point, if you have clients that are more that can handle the DIY part of it and are like, just tell me what to do, what to use. Yeah, it can totally be another service offering.
Think about, for anybody listening, right? Present company included. How many times have you ever bought something thinking it's going to fit and you're like, oh, it's like 2 inches too big, or this is just a little too small for this space. And then it's like, you have to take the extra time to go and return it. And, is it worth my time to return it? Am I going to just try to have this work? And so again, cutting down on the unnecessary clutter of time and product that we're spending. This is like, huge, because again, so many times people are like, oh, I thought that would look good there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's how I am with redecorating my house always. I can't tell you how many times I buy things and take it back, but with the organizing product industry is crazy. There are so many options, and it's only increasing. There's only becoming more options and more product lines that are coming out there. I mean, just walking into Home Goods and seeing the 2 or 3 aisles of organizing products, I love it. As an organizer, it's great to see, but it's even overwhelming for me to look at sometimes, thinking, oh gosh, like, where do I start when I'm thinking about, what a client's aesthetic is what they're trying to go for. And there are so many options, which makes it hard to make decisions. And the biggest things we can start with are the dimensions and what we have to work with. And there's not even an easy way to do that online these days with searching by products and sizes and all of that. So yeah, I mean, there's some things that, you know, sometimes you just need a professional to kind of help guide you, but you can handle the installation of it all. And I think that could be a really great thing.
The other thing I love about your tool is that it gets very granular. So, and as somebody who's, you know, I always say the devil's in the details, and I'm a very detail oriented person. And, you know, you could go on and there's like big picture closet design software and things like that. But to go like inside a drawer and go, let me map out, like literally, and we're going to do some demo videos. So for anybody that's listening to this, or if you're watching it on YouTube, make sure that you head on over. We're going to link up obviously to Sortify, and we'll have you connect up into our social media, but we're going to be doing some demo videos so that you could see it in like real time, what it looks like. And it's almost like you're looking at a top-down view, it's like an airplane view, an aerial view. So you can look inside the drawer. And that's what I love about it, because, you know, I've worked with many, many clients on like designing a kitchen and redesign, you know, figuring out drawers versus cabinets versus pullouts versus whatever you're going to do. But then you still have to get into the nitty gritty of when you're putting it away. How am I organizing this space? And that's where things start to trail off. And this tool allows you to really map out those details.
Yeah, exactly. And the tool also gives you a shopping list at the end. So based on the products that you are using in your design and you're manually inputting all the information, after the design is done, you can download it to share with clients or your team or whoever, or just for yourself and your own purposes. But there's also a shopping list with live links to go to. So if you haven't bought the product yet, then it's an easy, you know, printable, whatever. Or if you have a team member who needs to go purchase things for you, then you give it to them. So the shopping list to me is also huge, because that's another time saver with all the things that we have to remember and keep track of as organizers. So again, just trying to make things as efficient as possible with all the things we have to do.
Absolutely. And that actually made me think another strategic communication piece, because so much about what we do has to do with that communication piece as well. And for the professional organizer that maybe does have a team and isn't doing all the implementing, or maybe you, like you said, you're sending somebody out in the shop to do the shopping, to have that list. Or if you are you're the person that goes in there and measures and does the consultation, and then you have a team member that comes in and actually implements it, giving them this blueprint of exactly what to do helps to avoid any confusion, ambiguity, delays in a project. So again, all about streamlining and simplifying this process. So I love it. Love it. I cannot say enough good things about it. So I'm just curious, before we take a break, I mean, this series is called Partner Spotlight, because I want to, you know, obviously I want to showcase our partners, what they do. And the purpose is, obviously people are in your neck of the woods and looking for a professional organizer to be able to know who you are and connect up with you. But I also want to use this series as a way for inspiration to model to people that might be thinking, I want to start a professional organizing business, but I'm not sure how, or, you know, this is something that I'm thinking about doing. And, you know, I wasn't really sure what's the best way to go about it. Before we take our break, what would you say to somebody that's out there that might be, you know, thinking this is something I want to do, but I'm not really sure how?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, again, being an Enneagram 1 and wanting to test things before actually doing it and being super cautious, I would say, you know, it's one thing to organize yourself. It's another thing to help other people get organized. And so, you know, helping family and friends organize is always a good kind of, you know, a tester to see if it is something that you truly enjoy and truly helping people that way. And then just, reaching out to other organizers in the area, that was a big thing for me too. And just understanding, what is it like in the day, the day of a professional organizer? Are there jobs that you could potentially help them with just to trial it out? But there's so much more to owning your own business than just the organizing itself. And so that's another piece of it that I think, there's two main components. It's the actual job, and then it's the running of the business. And so trying to, just get as much understanding as you can. And there's no shortage of resources out there from, you want to be a new organizer, here's a course, or here's some things to dive into. And, just if you feel like you have a passion for it and you feel like it's a calling, then I think you should absolutely give it a try. And the way I looked at it is, even though I did all the research and all the things, and I still had my trepidations, as I do, I'm like, okay, the worst case scenario is I don't like it, or I'm a big failure, and I go back to my corporate America job or another corporate, the way, you can change at any time. So nothing's finite in this world. You don't have to stick with anything longer than you want to. And I think everybody should just give whatever they want to do a try, because it can always change.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. I think that's a perfect time for us to take a break, and we're going to come back. We're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about organizing, the Enneagram, and all the things. So sit tight. We'll be right back. All right, Kristy. So as you know, I am a huge student of the Enneagram, doing a lot of work specifically about the Enneagram and clutter, physical clutter, calendar clutter, emotional clutter, all the things. You're an Enneagram 1. For our listeners out there who don't know what the Enneagram or the characteristics of the Enneagram 1 are, can you just give in your own words, a kind of a top line overview of how you would describe the Enneagram 1?
Yeah, I'll try. I probably won't do, you can help me out if there's anything that I'm missing, but I would say obviously perfectionist is the biggest thing. Maybe a little bit of a control freak part in there too. And just, I think some of the good things are responsibility, accountability, high standards, which I've been told one too many times in my life that I have too high of standards, but I refuse to lower them. And, just a hard worker. But those are the characteristics I would say that I think of when I think of the Enneagram 1. Mm-hmm. Structure, things like that. I don't know. What am I missing? Yeah. Am I missing any key pieces?
You're not. So no. And so again, and just really quick, in case we do have people that are like, what's the Enneagram? Enneagram is a personality typology. A lot of you may have heard of Myers-Briggs or Strength Finders or DISC or any of the other personality assessment typologies. What makes the Enneagram different is that it has 9 core types, and they are fluid. So you have a dominant type, but we all are connected with all the different Enneagram types. And what also sets the Enneagram apart from other typologies is that it focuses in on your motivation. So it's the why you do what you do. And so the Enneagram 1's characteristics, as you said, they are known as the perfectionist or the improver, some people call them. And they are always striving for excellence, which is a great thing. They're probably their own worst critic, I would say. For the Enneagram 1s that I know, and from the research that I've done, and correct me if I'm wrong, you hold yourself to a higher standard than you hold other people. It's really more about your own level of excellence, and almost to a fault. It can almost be like, that's a good thing. Like, we want people to strive to be the best version of yourself, but not to an unhealthy point. And so there's also, I think for the one thing that they say about the Enneagram is the best qualities of you are also the worst qualities of you. And I can say with confidence as an Enneagram 8, I know that's true, like leadership and outspokenness and all these things can also be turned around. So I think, yes, it can be perceived as a control freak, which you're not trying to be, but I can understand how on the outside that would be the perception of people. So for anybody out there that's listening, that is either like, oh yes, that's me, or that's my spouse or my mom or my kid or whatever. Talk to me a little bit about how, because you would think that a lot of people that are Enneagram ones would be good at being a professional organizer. I'm going to actually take this step back and make a statement before I ask you a question. Because of the attention to detail, because they're responsible, because they have that accountability, that discipline. So all of those things kind of check that box with like, oh, you're a professional organizer, you would be an Enneagram 1. Now the question is, how has that helped you? But also, how has it maybe been a little bit of a roadblock for you from a professional standpoint?
Yeah, so it's definitely helped me, but I will say I was not born organized, and I was not organized as a child or growing up, but that's a whole other side note. I would say obviously it's helped me with the attention to detail and the striving for excellence and constant improvement. So I can look at a space, even if a client is already fairly organized, but feels they could be more organized, I can absolutely help them with that because I can see where they could improve. But on the flip side, I would say my attention to detail can be a hindrance because I can overthink things. Overthinking is a big thing. And, just spend too much time on areas more at the home office than on site with clients, but just looking at all the products and is there a better product out there than this one that I found that's the most convenient to get, so it's that piece. I think that's the biggest hurdle that I've had to cross or realize, like, I just need to
I think that's really
be something better. And I just need to accept that.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's a really, really valid point. And I've done a lot of work with, and again, I don't want to get too nerdy and technical about it, but obviously I look at, there's all these connection points within the Enneagram, and in the framework that I do in the course and in the book that I'm writing looks at, how the Enneagram types are related to one another. And the Enneagram 4s, which are creative individualists, when they are in periods of stress, they pick up the unhealthy characteristics of a 1. And so my daughter, as many of you know, is an Enneagram 4. And she struggles with ADD and some OCD stuff. And she's gotten better as she's gotten older, but she used to really hyper focus on tasks. And whether it was, I have to get it to be the perfect penmanship, or I have to get it to whatever project I'm working on, it has to be just perfect. And that would paralyze her just as much as the ADD, which was the opposite of the attention to detail, because she was all over the place. They almost worked side by side and they fed off of each other. And so, I'm saying this to people that are out there that are like, I'm a parent and I see my kid might be struggling with a certain area. Sometimes that, striving for excellence can almost be a real deterrent when you're trying to be productive, because you can be in your own way, so to speak. What strategies have you done to help yourself move past that?
I think having a good process is really important, and kind of just knowing that I have a process that I'm following and trusting that process, and also trusting my gut, which is a big thing that, I still have my affirmation from last year was trust myself. And I didn't change that for this year because I feel like I'm still working on it. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is just trust that the improvement is, we're going to be improving. Mm-hmm. It may not be perfect, but as long as we're moving in the right direction and the client's happy, and we've already agreed upon everything, then like I don't need to stress about it. So I think just the communication with the client and getting their approval and, you know, just making sure that everybody's on the same page and just having that transparency always is important. And that kind of gives me a little bit of solace in what I'm doing, and that I don't need to go beyond where I went already. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, yoga's been a big help in my life in so many ways, you know, not just with my business, but just in, you know, handling stress and anxiety and all the things. So I feel like that has helped too. But I still struggle with the when is enough enough.
Yeah. And I think that that's really, it's an important thing to say, because I think a lot of people out there feel that way. Where especially when we are constantly bombarded with things of excellence or things that could be better or improved, or, you know, from whatever, your home, your car, where you're working out, whatever you're doing. And so if you aren't intentional about shutting that stuff off and shutting that out, it's just going to continue to like play into, I don't want to say it's our insecurities, but where we can say how I could be doing more, I could be doing better. And sometimes like done is enough, you know, done is good.
Right.
And that's a counterintuitive thought to a lot of Enneagram ones.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I think Instagram is great. And I go to Instagram for inspiration, you know, from other organizers and seeing all the great work that everybody's doing. But sometimes that is, you know, what I could be striving for is getting that perfect picture at the end. And, you know, and it's like, that's not the goal. So I just need to remind myself of that often.
I love it. I think that's great. All right, we are going to take one more quick break, but before we do, I want you to tell our listeners, where can they find you? Where obviously you've got two different handles now because you've got your organizing business as well as Sortify. So we'll link up to everything in the show notes, so don't worry about writing it down, but just tell everybody if they want to learn more about you or any of your offerings, where can they go?
Sure. So for my organizing business, it's klporganizing.com. And I also have Instagram, KLP Organizing. And then for Sortify, it's sortify.app, APP. Sortify is spelled with an I at the end rather than a Y. And we also have a Sortify Instagram page as well as Facebook. Yeah, those are the two main places.
And there's going to be lots of videos and helpful tutorials to get people. And you have something special. So again, right now, it's just for people in the professional organizing space because the way the model is set up. But if we have professional organizers that want to go out there and say, oh my gosh, I want to use this in my business, you have a special promo code that you wanted to share.
Yes. So to get 15% off either the monthly or the annual subscription, you can just use SBO15 to get 15% off either monthly or annual.
Awesome. And we are going to, again, we'll link up to that in our show notes because our goal here is to give professional organizers the simplest, best tools out there to make their lives easier, as well as to help our listeners who want to live organized lives. Simple tools. So thank you so much. All right. We're going to come back. And as if you haven't already been in the hot seat for the past 45 minutes, we're going to put you back in for our final wrap-up questions. So sit tight. All right, Kristy. So this has been fun. And thank you for allowing us to dissect your Enneagram oneness. And thank you for sharing all about your professional endeavors and your journey. I'm sure it's been so helpful for people out there. Before we go, I always like to ask our guests a couple questions. First of all, what book has inspired you? And if you have a podcast, you could share that as well. But a lot of times people want like a tangible book that they can go to that has been inspirational in your life or something that you refer back to or refer to other people. So let us know what that is.
So I'm not a huge reader, but I do listen to a lot of books through Audible. So the one that I listened to last year that I really liked was Marie Forleo's Everything is Figure Audible. It kind of says it all in the name, but again, just for inspiration and motivation, it's a really great book.
Awesome. Thank you. And Marie's great. Love her stuff. And then in this particular season of your life, which you have a lot going on with both of your businesses, where do you feel the most organized and where do you feel like a little bit of a hot mess?
So I have always been super organized in my closet. So I love an organized closet and I love having all of my clothes color coordinated. It makes me happy at the beginning and the end of the day to see it that way. So my closet is always pretty organized. I'm always a hot mess on my desk space. So my desktop is always kind of, I need to see it as reminders, and I'm a big list person. So I throw them out when I'm done, but I have multiple lists at all times and not a real great streamlined way of doing it. So my desk is usually not.
Are you still a paper list maker?
I am. Yeah. There's something about, I've tried all the digital things. I've really wanted to digitize that. And there's something about writing it down that helps me remember. And then also the crossing it off when it's done is super satisfying. And the digital products, the check mark or what doesn't do it for me.
It doesn't. Even if you like click the button, it doesn't have the same impact as that actual like drawing the line through it. I get it.
Right. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, Kristy, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Thank you for all that you do for not just the SBO partner community, but just the greater organizing community at large. This is a tool that's going to help, our industry in so many ways. And I'm very, very grateful for you for that. And for all of our listeners out there, I am grateful for you tuning in each and every week. If you're new to our show, like I said, make sure to click the subscribe button if you want to watch us. We're over on YouTube. You can head on over there and follow us on social media. We're at Simply Be Organized, wherever you can find us. So until next week, I'm Lori Palau. Peace out.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please spread the love by sharing it with your friends. And if this is your first time tuning in, make sure to click the subscribe button wherever you are listening so that you never miss an episode. And while you're there, please leave us a review so other people know that our show is worth the listen. Head on over to YouTube and make sure that you follow us there as well. We record interviews, videos, and conversations with all of our guests. And again, if you want to learn more about our product offerings, feel free to visit us at simplybeorganized.com where you can connect with me.